Good evening, everybody. What is up, and welcome back to Diggin live from the Relic Room. Um, Man, it has been a crazy week. I'm sure it's been a crazy week for everyone out in Treasure Land on a Treasure Tuesday and a fine St. Patty's Day to you as well. This is probably one of the most interesting weeks of my life, and I think everybody could say the same thing. But hey, we're not going to have any old crazy thing get us down like this. We're still going to have a great evening right here live in the Relic Room. Couple things, Gone Diggin' Beach Blast in October, still happening. Make sure you guys are, if you're interested, sign up for that. It is going to sell out, I'm sure of it. The Gone Diggin' Facebook page is up and rolling. Everything is great, and we have a great video lined up for Thursday. All of that said, let's get that all out of the way, and I'm super glad you're here. Some new folks I wanted to say hi to. I want to say hi to D. Ford and Joe Reeves over from our guest, Glenn Ford, and there's Teresa, Texas Treasure Hunting. All kinds of great folks, and sorry I can't say all your names, but I appreciate each and every one of you coming in here. So, let's go right into it. I've got a fantastic guest for you this evening. Many people don't know, but I love exploring. I love adventure and abandoning old places. Maybe you do know that. But our guest is SideStep Adventures this evening. Let's bring Robert in. Robert, how are you doing, man?
Hey everybody, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Super good, man. I'm super stoked to actually get to hang out and talk treasure hunting and exploring and all that stuff. You know, it's interesting. We were talking a little bit before the stream a couple of days ago. I first really learned about your channel through my buddy Brandon at Adventure Archaeology, and I think that's how cool this community is. Folks like that share channels and things like that. But I really got into your channel. You got to fire a really big cannon. Is all that audio
Yeah,
coming through?
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that?
Oh yeah, well that was actually part of the moment thing. I was down at the National Civil War Naval Museum here in Columbus, and that museum they can use a lot of help, to get tourism through there and everything. And so I told them what I did, and I just dropped in unannounced, and this is the sort of thing that I do. And they were like, "Oh yeah, come in and join in on the cannon firing and walk through the museum and do some video of that too," which I did at the end of that video as well. And that was just really cool.
So, and have you always been interested in history? And for the folks that don't know, you do a little bit of everything, right? You're not a metal detecting channel per se, but you're more like exploring and adventure, right?
Yeah, so a lot of people, I think, get confused sometimes about what my channel actually is because it bounces around so many different things. Because it's everything from an urban exploring channel to a metal detecting or bottle hunting channel. And yeah, it's an all-around adventure channel.
So,
It's a Southern Adventure series.
So yeah, and a lot of things. I watched a creek walking video today. I've seen you exploring a abandoned Coca-Cola bottling plant in Columbus. So really, and I think it crosses over for me because I really enjoy a lot of different things like that. What got you into doing this sort of thing?
So ever since growing up, I always paid attention to, old houses on the side of the road. And before doing the videos, I've been a photographer. So, I'd stop and take pictures of places on the side of the road. One second. Come in here.
You're good.
And sorry, my dog, I apologize.
No, you're
My dog,
good,
she
man.
was trying to get me.
It's this is the beauty of live streaming, and we all are real people too, right? So
Yes, absolutely. So I would take pictures of this stuff on the side of the road, and the channel really got born with the idea of documenting, excuse me, documenting these places before they're gone. Whether it be old buildings, historic sites or old cemeteries or something like that. We want to document those places before they're gone, before they get torn down, because I'd see places on the side of the road and I would think, I want to photograph that. I'll get it next week. And I'd come back and the place would be gone. It would have been burned down, torn down, whatever. So that pushed me to do it in film, and then the film eventually transitioned into video.
And that's very cool. So, aside from just driving around and seeing a place, do you have like particular ways that you research or contact folks, or has your channel grown to a point now that people are like, "Oh man, Robert, you got to go check out this"?
Yes to all of that, basically. I generally film on Sundays, but on the weekend, so I just hit dirt roads and just start looking, for places, anything that might interest me, and then I'll have people call me and say, "Hey, you got to film this, you got to see this," or whatever like that. And also, it's like Stewart County, Georgia, put one of the videos that I did of their old churches down there. It's the Old Church Row. It's a really beautiful place. In Stewart County, Georgia, the government site that runs the tourism for down there, the government tourism site, embedded that video into their channel. So through that, I kind of got a partnership with them even, I was down there this past Saturday and I said, I'd like to film some more stuff here. And he's like, yeah, you can film this abandoned apartment up here. I'll take you over here, give you a tour of the jail and all this stuff. And so it's cool the way that's worked out.
That is that is pretty cool, and I think that's neat because those sort of partnerships benefit everybody. They benefit you as a content creator, but they also benefit the future for documenting what was once there and how it was. I mean, it's fun to see old photographs and things like that, but it also helps the local community document. Do you have certain sources that you use for research?
As far that's
Like,
yes and no. The stuff that I find is oftentimes, if I'm finding it by myself, just going around looking for something to film, then I don't get the opportunity to research it a lot. So it's kind of like I upload the video, and then I've got this beautiful community that's around the SideStep Adventures YouTube channel that I'll put this up and be like, hey guys, I know nothing about this place. I just stumbled here, and they'll get on there, they'll research it, and they'll be like, oh, this was this, and that happens a lot of times if I film an old cemetery, and they'll start researching it and tell me, what these people died of, their personal histories, all this stuff I knew nothing about, and so that's pretty cool. So it's like my subscribers are also my dedicated research team at times. Also in Harris and Talbot County, Georgia, where I do a lot of videos, there is a very good friend of mine, Dan Aiken. I talk about him a lot on my videos, and he is an area historian out there. So I'll drive around there and find something or see something, or he'll tell me about something. And or if in the case that I just found something, I'll call him up, and he's amazing. He's absolutely an amazing treasure trove of history that he keeps in his head. I'll call him and tell him, I ran across this thing in the woods, and it's just past, it's just on this road. And he's like, oh yes, that is, and give me, all this information about it that he just keeps in his head. It amazes me. But he's my go-to historian for those counties.
That's neat because it's another benefit of documenting all this fun stuff. The fact that it would be lost if you didn't, or I mean, if for something one day, if it's never written down, that now you have at least a little bit of that. What's the most
Absolutely.
the most interesting thing that one of your subscribers has given you as a piece of research or a piece of history that you didn't know after going to a place?
There's been so many. I visited his gravesite of, I forget who it was now at this point. I'd have to go back to my notes because I do not retain stuff like Dan does. But I actually visited a cemetery, and it was a fellow whose family had traced his genealogy all the way back to the Revolutionary War where this guy's great grandfather, the grave of who I visited, his great grandfather was like on a prisoner of war um, in the War of Independence. And
Oh
it's just,
wow.
he was a prisoner of war on a British ship until after the war. And it's like, it's amazing, all of this history. And just in this little cemetery here, that was pretty cool.
That
There's a lot more, though, that I could probably go on and on about if I remembered it all.
No, I'm sure. That's really cool. And you do a lot of different things from abandoning factories to like the bottling things. But do you find that you tend to like fall back on that you explore graves and what grave sites and things like that? And what's the appeal to that? And we're gonna talk treasure hunting in this a little bit as well. Because a lot
Yeah.
of my folks do treasure hunt or metal detect. Um, going to this place, it's kind of like this weird, like sacred honor to go, right?
Absolutely. As far as going to cemeteries,
Yeah.
that's another thing that I kind of want to document before it's gone, because the ones that I go after to film are not, the nice manicured one that you see over here. It's the ones that are lost in the woods, and I didn't originally do that when I started the channel. But I came across one really interesting one and filmed it, and then I began to notice more and more just off the side of the road. Like I had a couple great young ladies take me to one that was this massive rock wall in the woods, and it was a mass grave from an epidemic back in the early 1900s, and it's just fascinating history. And there's just so much history to be found in a cemetery, and you find connections. Like if you're doing the history of a county, you can see connections between, like this cemetery's this person is, buried here, and finds out that they were connected to this person who I found in this cemetery. And you realize after going and filming all of these different places, you're not only visiting these cemeteries, you're also telling the story of how this county came to be. And that's kind of interesting. Also interesting is seeing the earliest ones that are in the counties, and those are generally always lost. Like in the middle of logging land, you've got this great cemetery. It's 1836 is when they died, and the county was settled in 1835, something like that, is when the Native Americans were, of course, removed from the county, and these people were put here. And it's very interesting, how all of that works.
That is super cool, and I mean I think that's probably one of those kind of you know like metal detecting. You make a find, but the real find isn't till what you know about it till afterwards. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely, because a lot of these places I go to, I film them, and then that's where the subscriber base that I have, and they'll tell me all this information. Or Dan, get with Dan on a place, and he'll tell me all of this. And it's like, wow, I didn't know he was related to this guy. And also, you find this old cemetery in the woods, excuse me, and like Dan will say, oh yes, and their plantation was right across the street. And it's all woods now, and you would never know except for 3 headstones.
so, and I guess that's the interesting thing that I would like to kind of bring to. So, in these places that you find, many places that I metal detect in old homes I look for, what are the associations to the cemeteries you find? Are they generally on a piece of property that still has the house standing, or are there or removed, or maybe the property has been split up, or is there any association that you can tell?
Generally not. Generally, a lot of the places that I go film is on logging land now, because the back roads of Georgia is like 99% logging land. So, it's all logging land, and you're going down the road, then you see a cluster of trees that's old growth, not new pine. And, you'll know that there's something in those woods. There's a reason. Generally, it's a cemetery. And then you'll find out that where all these trees are growing now, there's the history, that's in those trees. It's in this land you would never know it's been uh, erased, for lack of a better word, by development or progress, and you'd only know because of the little cemetery there.
That's neat. That's really neat. I really logging the South. Brandon says logging the South has destroyed so much, but in turn
Oh,
it
really?
has preserved things. Myself and Jamie Henley have found a cemetery in the woods, very similar to what you're talking about. The way that we found the home site is there was one tree that was too large to log in that area, and the house, what we figured out, was sitting directly underneath that tree at some point in time.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, and it would have been a small house, but the cemetery was quite large, 30, 40 graves, many not marked headstones, just impressions in the ground.
Yeah.
So when you're out and you do find these burial areas and stuff like that, what are the ground covers that you see? Obviously, in the spring in the south, you know that you're close to a cemetery or a house, whether it's daffodils or maybe some of the other brought in plant life. Is there like kind of like a telltale sign if you're driving down a logging road, you see like periwinkle that you're like, man, I'm getting close.
For cemeteries, it's cedar trees, because cedar trees, being an evergreen represents everlasting life, and so they were planted around cemeteries, and so cedar trees are a telltale sign for cemetery. Home sites is the daffodils, mostly just daffodils around here that I've seen growing around, and you'll know that's a home site there, which is always cool how the plants continue after the people are long gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting to see the difference because for us, it was very much periwinkle was the ground cover that they would plant again evergreen and symbolizing, everlasting life and but bright blue or purple flowers and it's very very cool to hear about the difference regionally from from a little farther south than where we are in Virginia. Um, so, and and for folks that don't know, you are in Georgia. How
Yes.
how do you manage the summertime in Georgia?
Oh, well, I grew up here, so it's just you get out there and you sweat basically.
I ask Brandon, and I don't know how he does in Alabama. I would just feel like I'm in a shower all the time.
Yeah, oh man, I enjoy the spring. I enjoy the cooler weather for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So not only are you into exploring, looking for cemeteries and stuff like that, but you're also into, I mean, everything else. Bottle digging,
Oh
creek
yeah.
walking. So aside from like the exploring, what would you say like you really enjoy doing next?
So it's again, this is how my channel's so, ex, diverse in the content that I do. Cemetery is one aspect of it because it's documenting those places, But what I personally love, doing is the urban exploration, as I guess people would say, but it's not urban. It's out in the country, old homesteads and old farms and that sort of thing. Bottle digging, of course. I would like to do more metal detecting on my channel, but I find that I've got the curse where if I have the metal detector and a GoPro, then I don't find anything. If I don't have the GoPro, then I'll find stuff metal detecting. So I haven't quite gotten the hang of filming and metal detecting, I guess.
That's pretty fun. I mean, I like the whole idea of one kind of offsets the other and ruins it both for you, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. I tell you, I've never found, I'll go out and I'll creek walk or, bottle hunt or something. I'll find all this good stuff. I'll be like, man, I wish I had my camera with me. But if I did, I would not have found it. So,
Big shout out to Ambient Girl Relic Hunter. John asked, John, my buddy from Georgia as well, asked whereabouts in Georgia are you from?
Columbus.
From Columbus. John and I, we were talking earlier. I cannot remember where you're from, John. So if you put that in there, John's a great dude. Lives in Georgia and Yeah, hunts with an AT Pro. So when you do go out and metal detect, what kind of machine are you hunting with?
AT Pro.
AT Pro, and it pretty much serves what you need. I mean, anything like you like, don't like about it, or just easy setup and go.
Um, it it works for what I do. Again, I don't metal detect as much as I probably should, because it's not a cheap machine. And of course, I know that there's much more that are much more expensive than that one, but I don't use it nearly as much as I should. So for what I do, it serves the purpose very well. And it's funny, last time I used it, well, not the last time that I found something really good, I actually found a bottle dump with the AT Pro. I was out metal detecting a 1900s house and wound up digging up whiskey barrel bands. And underneath the whiskey barrel bands was this massive bottle dump. So I always like to say, I found bottles with my AT Pro.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I like that. I think that it's it's very cool to be able to to find stuff because I'm the same way. I mean, I'm guilty. I love to scuba dive. I like to fossil hunt. I like to bottle dig. So, in your bottle digging collecting, what kind of time period do you go for bottle digging? Is there
As
like just anything is cool, or do you have like a hope or like what you like to find?
early as possible is, I think everything is cool, but as early as possible is what I go for, as early as possible for this area, which would be, 1830s and more prolific 1860s and up, you know. But that's the sort of stuff that I look for. It's funny. I was out with a buddy of mine. We were in a canoe, and I think that video got filmed, or I think I made a video of this. But anyway, we were in a canoe and hunting the Chattahoochee River, and we were magnet fishing. That did go up. We were magnet fishing, and he found a bottle, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, it's 1920s. It's not old or whatever. Toss it back." Not really toss it back, but I kept it. But it was funny because he was like, "Oh man, this is 100-year-old bottle," and I was like, "Oh man, that's nothing," you know.
So, and you magnet fish too. So, like, tell me about. I mean, obviously, that's probably a good summertime hobby too.
Oh, absolutely. That's another thing I don't do as much as I should. My magnets, I got magnet company came on, contacted me, and asked me if I wanted to use some of their magnets and make some videos with their magnets. And I'd magnet fished before that, but they sent me better magnets. So I did go out and use their magnets and made a couple magnet fishing videos just for them. And then I started doing it for myself. And I found a gun, which was pretty cool, in a little creek. And I found 50 caliber bullets, which was weird. It's only pulled up because it has the steel, the clips on it where it feeds through,
Right.
because it's a brass round. But 50 caliber shotgun shells. There's a lot of cool stuff came out of that creek. That was a fun video. I would like to do more of that. And now that it's warmer, I probably will.
What kind of gun did you find?
It's just a little snub-nosed revolver. I think a Colt, if I recall correctly. I called the local sheriff's department and told them to, come and get it because it wasn't old and it hadn't been down there for very long. So I figured, there's only a couple reasons why a gun winds up in a creek. It's either been used in a crime or was stolen. So I turned it into them.
So they came and got it. What was your experience with that like? Was that pretty cool? Like, hey man, I found a gun, or was it like they ask you a bunch of
Oh,
questions,
yeah.
or were they just like you're crazy for throwing magnets in the water?
Well, I was in a rural Georgia county, and so they were just good old country boys. And the dude was like, "Oh man, that is so cool! You found," and he loved it. He loved it, and he took it, and he was like, "You can't get it back. It's going to be logged into evidence or whatever." And I was like, "That's fine." He's like, yeah, a lot of people, if they do find a gun around here, because he said that a lot of people actually find guns out there just on the side of the road, because a lot of hunters will leave their guns on the back of their truck and then drive off or something like that. Um, of course, they don't come out of the water. He thought it was super cool that I was out there magnet fishing. And then he added in at the end, he said, now you're not supposed to be fishing from a bridge, and that goes for magnet fishing too. And I was like, oh man, we had this great conversation. You just had to throw that in. But it was a good experience other than that.
Like, can I see the law that says I can't throw a magnet from a bridge?
Right, right.
Do do you have so I mean in your exploring you probably have those kind of run-ons from time to time, like run into either landowners or I guess your urban kind of exploring, that's probably a little bit of a gray area, right?
I try not to go places. So if a place is posted, says no trespassing or has a fence around it or something like that, I don't go there, plain and simple. If it is in the county right of way, or close, because a lot of stuff is on the county right of way because roads have been widened. So, this old house, just, nobody cares about it. It's right there. It's on the county right of way. Now, I may go into that gray area every now and again. I've only cemetery is a little bit different. If I see one, even if it's a little bit further off the woods, unless it's sitting right beside somebody's house or has a fence around it, that they clearly don't want anybody going back there, I'm going to go back there and film it. Just for the sake of documentation purposes. I've only had one run-in with a landowner at a cemetery site that I went to, and it was behind a sign that said no trespassing. But I pulled up there and walked up to the cemetery because Georgia is very, very open to cemeteries. Like if cemeteries on logging land, I think the law is that they have to provide access to that cemetery. Of course, it's for family. And I'm sure that there's many that are not. Because they're just in the woods. But this guy comes up, and this is the grave of Silas Ramey video I did, where his bones are laying on top of the ground and exposed because the cemetery was damaged. And the landowner came up, and because we had two cars there with Brian and David, I think, and he came up and I told him what I was doing. I said, I'm filming the cemetery here, and he was like, "Oh yeah, someone needs to take care of it." And he like sped off and got out of there. He didn't want to be bothered about the cemetery, but he was cool with it.
Whoa, no way. And
yeah.
So Virginia is kind of the same way, right? So because we have a probably 1960s cemetery on a piece of land that my family owns. And when we purchased it, there was a lot of turmoil over it, and they said, "Oh, you're going to exclude us," but legally you can't be excluded from a cemetery if
Right.
you can show documentation that you're related to somebody buried there. I'm
Right.
sure it would be pretty difficult to prove that you were buried, you're related to somebody who was buried 200 years ago, but I think most people would be okay with you at least showing the condition, except for maybe Mr. Silas, who was laying out on top of the ground.
Yeah, I didn't put that in the video. I didn't put that on YouTube. The graphicness of his bones laying on top of the ground, just out of respect. But yeah, that was a case where I actually worked very hard to try to find somebody to fix that and rebury him. And actually, at this point, it's still not fixed. Which is crazy to believe. That there's human remains laying on top of the ground here that from 140 years ago, and or more than 140 years ago, and they nobody wants to just cover them up, and then that gets into a gray area too, where I can't just go out there and rebury them myself, but and that's where an organization or county needs to step in, which unfortunately I wasn't able to find someone to step in on that.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. You know, but it's tough. You're good. You're good. You got to take care of it. Take care. It sounds like somebody was outside. But it is tough to get that kind of stuff. I mean, after 200 years, and or 150 years, and then the restriction of not being able to, for you to take care of it, because I'm sure you would be more than happy to take care of it, right?
Absolutely. I contacted several organizations. The county kind of passed the buck on it. They didn't want to do it. They told me to call DAR, the Daughters of American Revolutionary Veterans, or however that works, whatever the terminology is. And this is a Confederate Civil War veterans grave. So they said they don't do those graves. You know, they don't take care of them. You need to contact Daughters of Confederate Veterans, and they said, well, they only take care of ones that are in town, and they don't even have a chapter out in that county anymore because everyone got too old and died off. And then I contacted Sons of Confederate Veterans, who said that they're going to fix it. They haven't yet, and it's been more than a year, but they said that they were going to fix it. But I volunteered my time. I said, hey, when you guys go out there to do it, you know, I'll come out there and I'll work with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be a great outcome for all. You know, I think that it's interesting. I think some of the best-hearted people in the world are in the metal detecting, relic hunting, treasure hunting community. So many people are interested and willing to take care of that, but I think sometimes we get a bad name for what we do. Do you ever feel like that, or have you ever just it's just part of the gig?
I've never really gotten that. Yes and no. You know, it's kind of like a lot of people don't want to be bothered, I think, is the basic thing of it. I've never really gotten a bad name for what I do. Actually, what I do has been, like with Stewart County, kind of welcomed because they need tourism down there. They need, the county has no industry down there. So by me doing these videos, like in town, of the old stuff in town, it's whatever draws people in, you know? And so I haven't really run into like where I felt like what we do has a bad name. Everyone who I've met has been, as far as metal detecting wise, is like, absolutely, yeah, come in and metal detect. I think one thing that kind of saves it around here is that there's not a huge metal detecting community in this town. There's a couple guys that I know that do it, and probably some more that I don't know that do it, but there's not like, it's not like in some places where people have just been overwhelmed by people knocking on the door, asking, can I metal detect here? And then the guy before them, didn't fill in their holes and, made them mad. So it's kind of like new ground to metal detect in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see the benefit of that. And maybe that's something I've experienced here in Virginia from time to time. It's been pretty, it's interesting, and it's cool to talk to folks from all over the country to understand how things are like that. So if anybody does have any questions or anything they'd like to ask, please use at Gone Diggin, and I'll try to get to your questions, or at SideStep Adventures, and we'll put all that together as well. We've got 30 awesome people here, and this is cool, man. I really enjoy your all the exploring stuff. But I just saw a video the other day of you riding around in a Coronet. Is that your
Mercury
car?
Comet. Yeah, that's 1964 Mercury Comet.
Oh, Comet.
That is
Comet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Comet. Yeah, that's my car.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. So are you into that as well? Like, I mean, obviously, old cars. I mean, I have an old car. I just haven't put it out on videos yet, but I will.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a 1957 Chevrolet that until the virus of recent times has put the shop out of business for a while. I was going to be driving it this weekend, but a lot of places are shut down around here, so it put me super far behind on this car. But I've got a 1957 Chevrolet that used to be an old U.S. Army staff car. It's super cool. I LS swapped it, and I was going to do a whole video series around this car of driving a 57 Chevy to places that would have been around in the 50s, here, old gas stations, old motels, that sort of thing. And I thought that'd make a really neat video series, so I hope to do that. But I like including my old cars in the videos, and I've always wanted to do that. I wanted to do it with the 1951 Ford that I used to own, where I would drive it around to old places. That car got messed up, so I want to do it with the 57 Chevy.
That's cool, man. I'd love to see that. I would watch every single one of those. So that's I think that's like one of like the weird things like in exploring. Like, what's the coolest old car you've seen stuck out in the woods that you just wanted to pull it out and just save it?
Oh man, there was a 50. I think it was 58. Yeah, it was 58 Chevrolet wagon. And there's a section of Columbus called Bibb City, and it has up until recent. Well, it started out as a mill district. It was for Bibb Mill, where all the mill workers would live. And then when the mills left, it became just a lower class neighborhood, and then drugs took over with that neighborhood, so it became Crackville, for lack of a better term, with some older people still holding out in there who weren't dealing drugs or using drugs. Anyway, so I was exploring around in there, and there was a 58 Chevrolet Yeoman. It was super rare wagon, super cool car behind this boarded up house. So I went back there and I filmed the car, and I actually found the guy who used to live in that house had died. He was an older man. He was another holdout, of that area. He had died, and and I contacted him and said, I want to buy that car out there. It was rotted in the ground. I didn't need it, but it was so cool. I want to buy it. I contacted his son, and his son said, well, that car is worth a lot of money. That's a classic. And I was like, well, never mind. When people say that, that's the cue that, it's going to be $12,000 or something. And I never heard back from him because I was trying to get him to put a number on it because I can't buy it for you, sell it for you, And I drove. And so the reason I said that about Bibb City is because it's always been a blighted neighborhood. And the city has recently gone through and is trying to clean up the blight. And that means tearing down old houses and removing old cars. And so I drove by there the other day. The house is gone, the car is gone, and I know they just scrapped it. I was like, that sucks. You'd never even know it was there. It's just a grassy lot now. I was like, I cannot believe that. But it wasn't, it wasn't meant for me anyway. But that was
it's like finding that great like bottle, and you're like, man, if I was here a couple weeks ago, it would have been there. It would have been whole. Or it's man, that's tough. But hey, you gave it your best shot, right? At least you can say you tried.
Yeah, I did try. I can tell you about bottles. There's the old Coca-Cola bottling company here in Columbus, which I think you mentioned that video earlier. And out behind this Coca-Cola bottling company, which was from the early 1900s, I forget when it closed down, but they had a bottle dump out back. And I'd heard about it. It was legend, this bottle dump full of straight side Coke bottles, but the city paved over it back in the 70s or 80s and just dumped asphalt on top of all of these bottles that were in there. And so then when they were doing construction on this place and they started digging up that area behind the old bottling company, they were digging up all of these old Coke bottles, and the excavator was breaking like every single one of them. And it was awful. Hold on a second. These are the only two that I actually I recovered from there, and these are just Columbus Georgia. In frame there. There we go. These are just Columbus, Georgia straight side Coke bottles, but these were the two most intact bottles
Oh my
from.
gosh.
Yeah,
That kind of
and
that kind of make kind of breaks your heart too, but hey,
yeah,
it's the same thing, right? You gave it your best, and I mean, sometimes it's just not meant to be. Uh,
yeah,
the,
definitely.
uh, so with going through these other areas, you have to have like in some of these like questionable neighborhoods because I do the same thing. I mean, I really enjoy places and most, in some of these questionable neighborhoods, most of the folks there are really nice. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really have bad experiences with knocking on somebody's door in places that people tell me not to go if I think the home is nice or I think that, I think they're going to be friendly.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories about going through those areas?
I was trying to film an old building in a less than savory part of town, and I was filming. No, I was doing a selfie. I had the GoPro pointed at myself. This dude that lives on the corner down there, but it didn't bother him. And he looks at me. He's like, "No, man, you can't be filming me," and and just starts in on me. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not filming you." And I'm filming this building back here. He's like, "No, you had the camera pointed at me." I said, "This is the back of the camera, dude." And it was a sketchy time. But
Yeah, I could see how that could be questionable.
yeah,
I I've had some of those experiences too, where whether you're filming in public or doing some other things, people just, um, people get really funny around the camera. Um,
absolutely.
so Teresa's Texas treasure hunting asked, how much are those kind of like that Columbus era straight sided Coke? What would they be worth if they were whole?
I think $50 to $60.
So not super
They're
expensive, but probably way more important to you because you got to find them and they came from the bottling plant from your hometown.
Yeah, there is one of the more priceless uh, Georgia Coke bottles is a Chipley bottle. Chipley is known as Pine Mountain now. The name of the town was changed, and those are, there's a handful that are known to be in existence. So I'm always on the lookout for a Chipley bottle, and of course, I think that Coca-Cola bottling plant there had to have been a Chipley bottle in that massive bottle dump that's now covered
Oh,
up
I'm sure
again.
there was.
Yeah.
And what are they? What does a Chipley bottle go? I'm not. So I'm new into the world of like 1900 stuff. I'm like you. I much rather prefer to go to the 1800s, but
Yeah.
I'm not picky either. So what is a Chipley bottle if you were to run across one in reasonable condition?
A Chipley bottle, straight side Coke, is $1,500 to $2,000, and
Wow.
the even if you find it and it's broken, like the neck is broken on it, it's $500 because people, collectors will take it and apply a new neck to it. My friend Dan, who is from that area where Chipley was, he said that he knew where there was a whole bunch of Chipley bottles back when he was a kid, and he said the place where they are now has been paved over and is a road now. But he said he got a couple of them and they were all broken. He said every single one of them was broken, and he had them for a while and then he threw them all away because he didn't know, that they were worth anything. And he kept one of them, and then a bottle collector came over to his house and saw it was a Chipley bottle. He's like, "Man, I'll give you $500 for this bottle right now." He said, "It's broken." He said, "I know." He said, "But I know a guy that'll give me 1,000 for it," or something like that. You know.
Man, that's wild, man. Even those broken, those older broken bottles, just it's unbelievable, unbelievable.
There are several Georgia Coke bottles that are very, very rare. There's a couple ones that are priceless. Um, because and then there's a couple that have never been found. There's a couple towns that did have bottling companies and they've never found a bottle of that town, and those are going to be super super valuable. I would absolutely love to find one of those, and a lot of them are from around this area where I am, so I'm always on the lookout for those if I'm bottle hunting.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And just like that, we've made. Oh, don't forget magnet fishing. Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit. So let's talk about SideStep Adventures plans for the next year. We're already 3 months into this year, which is unbelievable to me. But for folks like Joe who want to know, what do you have in store in the future? Where would you like to go? You're always you produce a lot of content too.
It's basically going to be more of the same. I'd like to do more magnet fishing. I would like to do more metal detecting and bottle hunting on video. I do a lot of I can do this. So I have to make the most of the day that I'm given. I'll keep riding around here documenting places or people, or and I've actually got a permission for an 1860s house right now from and
We're we're having a little bit of a connection issue, but are we back? We're gonna hold this just in case we didn't drop out. But if we did, I'm gonna drop a message real quick. If it did drop, let's see if we can do this, Robert. I think he's gone completely. I think so too, but we're going to work on it real quick. I'm going to send him a new password, so you guys just bear with me. There we go.
I think I'm back.
There we go. We're back now.
Okay, right. I don't know what.
Hey, that's the beauty of live streaming, right?
Absolutely.
So, and just to catch up where we missed, so we can expect a lot more stuff, a lot more of the same, but maybe some new stuff in the upcoming year, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I'm going to be working with some people down in Lumpkin, Georgia, Stewart County, and that's a great opportunity for both of us because, like I said, that town needs some tourism. They need people coming through, and I like exploring stuff and filming stuff, and so it helps both of us out. It gives me something to explore and film, and also maybe somebody locally will see it and say, "Hey, I need to drive down there." So that'll be pretty cool. I do have a I don't know if this went a minute ago, but I've got an 1860s house metal detecting permission, and so I'm hoping to do that. I'll just hide the GoPro from a metal detector, so I'll be able to find stuff, and I think that'll be pretty cool. More magnet fishing for sure.
Right on. Somebody in the chat asked, History Man said, "Hi, SideStep. I really like what you do."
Thank you.
So Troyce Brooks said, "Love the cemeteries, but also the mill sites and the homesteads." So I think we're all back good. So Bottle Hawk said he wanted to try magnet fishing, but any suggestions as to what strength magnet he should get, or where he should get it from?
Amazon's got pretty good magnets, especially just starting out. There is, I think I started trying to remember what the strengths were. The last magnet that I used that I was really happy with was, I think, around 1,000 pound pull strength. At least that's what it was sold as by the company that sent it to me. I was really pleased with that one. You see a lot of them that are like 300 pounds or something like that, and they don't, they drop stuff way too easily. The only downside about a magnet that's that heavy, 1,000 pound magnet, is if you get it on the side of a bridge or something, then, good luck getting it off. Ask me how I know, sort of thing. And you just have to be careful with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are dangerous, right? Don't put your finger in it. It'll smash your finger to pieces.
And don't accidentally get two of them stuck together like I did.
They will
They're
never come apart.
No.
Miss Trish RN asked, would you ever consider having a fan exploration?
Oh yes, I've actually had. You mean like where a fan comes along? I've had a couple local people um, that are fans of the show, not just my friends that have wanted to join along on the adventure. The only thing is with that is it's the sort of thing where I can't guarantee we're going to see anything interesting at all, unless I already know a place to go to. I can't guarantee we're going to see anything interesting at all because I hit dirt roads and just, ride around and see what I can find, either on scouting missions or otherwise. But yeah, for sure.
Cool, man. That seems like
Yeah.
a cool channel contest. If somebody's willing to come out and explore, no guarantees. It's like metal detecting or magnet fishing or any sort of treasure hunting. You can't guarantee you'll find something, but I bet you're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. And another thing is, if people have a place for me to go, or, want to get together like that, call me up and tell me somewhere to go and, you want to join in. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like that, we've made it to almost an hour. Couple more questions. If you could go explore, metal detect, magnet fish, treasure hunt, do anything anywhere in the world, where would you want to go explore or do any of those things tomorrow without restriction?
I've really got to say down here or the southeastern United States, Louisiana probably. There's some cool stuff out in the bayous and the woods out there. I've always wanted to explore out there, but honestly, there's so much stuff here. I'd be happy. If I was just exploring down here in these southeastern states for a long time. It'd keep me busy for a long time for sure. I mean,
Right
because
on, man.
honestly,
I think that's how a lot of people feel. I could spend my entire life metal detecting in Virginia and never find everything I wanted to find. Um,
all of my videos, none of my videos are more than 50 or 60 miles from home, and and out of however many videos that is, however many places that is, that's just a pin drop as to what's out there.
uh, so that and just clarifying that the magnet you found the gun with, was that 1,000 pound pole?
Yes, yes, that was a Wukong brand magnet, and it was 1,000 pound pull.
Cool.
And a lot of times with the magnets, you'll get a 300 pound pull, and that's like laboratory tested against, a clean piece of steel. Is how they come up with that number, I think. And so when you've got, when you find a gun or something that's been in the water and has, 6 inches of silt and corrosion on it, you need overkill, magnet wise to be able to recover that item.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are experiencing a viral apocalypse. You have all the toilet paper you could ever need in the world, but there is only one food item in the grocery store for you to buy. What would it be?
Oh, there's only one food item. Catfish, fried catfish. Well, I'll take the catfish and then I'll fry it myself. But there we go.
Just catfish, and then you'll make all the breading and stuff yourself. I can respect
Yeah,
that.
I'll do all the rest of that
A
myself.
man who likes his fried catfish a certain way is all right in my book. Um,
Gotta have a
uh,
bottle of.
and last question: what kind of dog is barking there in the background?
That is a dog at my neighbor's house. That is a German Shepherd, I think, and I don't know why he's barking right now, but it's kind of annoying.
That's all
It's
right.
like of all times.
We just had a
I
question
have
about it, so we're all good.
the dog. Yeah, I apologize about that. I live I live in a neighborhood, so our houses are side by side.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
all right.
my backyard is their backyard. The dog that was barking at the door a minute ago, she is a 21 year old white lab. She's very, very old, obviously. And the dog that's on the couch that was being loud because of the other dog barking is he's a 2 year old Mastiff mix. Apollo, come here. You wanna come here? See if he'll no.
No, he's
Come here.
camera shy.
He's a really funny dog. When we were on earlier, just before the show started, don't knock it over. He was looking at the camera and was trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. There we go. Let's see if he can get in from there.
He's a
There
pretty
he
guy.
is.
He's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. All right, get down. Get down, Apollo. Get down.
He's like, no, you called me up here now. Well, Robert, I
Yeah.
personally want to thank you for coming on and hanging out and being a guest here
Thanks for
in the
having me.
Relic Room. I think everybody in the chat will say the same. You're an incredible guest. I think we could sit and talk about exploring an adventure for probably way, way too long. Um,
Absolutely.
but absolutely fantastic. If you ever make it to Virginia and you want to go metal detecting, exploring, diving, magnet fishing, whatever else, um, but you
Yeah.
have a place to stay, and I will gladly take you out. Um,
Appreciate
so
that. Stop.
what I'm going to do is we're just going to slide you over the side. Don't go anywhere, and we are going to wrap this up. But thank you so much. Or anything else you'd
Thank
like
you.
to say?
Oh no, that's it. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and definitely if I make it up there, let's get together. And if you ever come down here, definitely let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. Well, cool. So, super huge, awesome. Thank you to Robert from SideStep Adventures. I'm trying not to mess that up. He has a phenomenal channel. He's a super cool dude, super fun to talk to. Go over, check his channel out, subscribe if you're not into all kinds of that stuff, or if you haven't seen what he does. It's phenomenal. It's easy to watch, and it makes you feel like you're right in the video with him. I appreciate each and every one of you who have come out and hung out on this Quarantine Treasure Tuesday here in the Relic Room. I hope you had a great St. Patty's Day. It almost doesn't even feel like St. Patty's Day, but go drink a green beer for me if you're into that sort of thing. Next week, we're going to have a live stream next week. I'm not real sure what it is, but I've got some other really great guests. Everything in life has kind of thrown me for a loop, but we're going to make all of that stuff go by the wayside. So, as far as that goes, I hope you've enjoyed Gone Digging live from the Relic Room on this beautiful Tuesday night. My name is Matt. Next week, I hope you're able to go out, adventure, treasure hunt, and find some history. But if you're not able to go out and find history, I hope you're able to make history. Until next time, we will see you right here. Thanks for watching.